appreciate Loon. Loon was
Loon
the
dog.
15th of 15 players that came up to the podium.
I love it, man.
Mr. Steady, right at the end there, and I think it's interesting. He, for what it's worth, because he's involved in all this stuff about who's going to start or not. Everybody just throws his starting spot around
because he's so willing to take
he
one
can be
for the
in
team.
And out.
Yeah.
Like I always wonder, because this is just how I roll. Like, and you're right, Looney. I mean, he's just Mr. Steady, Mr. Cool about it. But I always think, is he really cool about it, or like he always says he is? But it's like he could be sitting at home thinking, everybody just throws my starting spot out.
But
like
as long as he doesn't voice it, that's what makes him, like you said, we all thinking. Fake it, but
I hope everybody's not taking Looney for granted.
I feel like I'm the Looney of the station. Like whatever you need me to do, I'll do it, Jay. Jay, real quick here.
I don't think you're the Looney of the station.
Have you? Because before Soda, Nahegan, Bonte, and I, you were the real Soda weight loss because you lost weight. The transformation was incredible. You're still looking good, but I've never really adjusted to the cafeteria high school part of the show, the component now that is YouTube. Whatever you wear, they talk about you. Chris M on YouTube, Guru, it looks like you drunk a pumpkin spice latte on the way to work. All because of the color of my shirt, Chris.
I like it.
It ain't an insult, but
yeah,
damn. Now you got me thinking Thanksgiving and pumpkin pie.
I think you look good.
No, he didn't say bad, but damn, that ain't what I was aiming for.
It's fall.
Oh, there you go.
To me, it's fall. It's October. It's fall. You were at the facility yesterday, so it's going to be a little different. Attire. This is basically your first day in studio in October, which feels like fall. So I got no issue with it.
Let's go, baby.
But I'm with you. Not to get off on a tangent on that, but I never like I don't. I just never like the angles. I hope we got better angles in the other place.
This is the heavy chair, too. So
in the new place, I hope there's better angles. Because I always think, I put in all that work and the angle ain't right. It's all about the
angles, JD.
The angle ain't right. 888-957-9570. We're talking some Warriors angles here on 95.7 The Game. And the simple question that I posed before the break, is it a no-brainer now that Chris Paul just moves into the starting lineup? Draymond's going to be out, whether it's 2 to 4 or 4 to 6 or 6 to 8. We know he's going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks, which is still going to be a week before the regular season starts, 3 weeks from today. But to me, and it sounds like to you, it's a no-brainer that, hey, Chris Paul goes right into the starting lineup, and it's Steph and Klay with CP3, Wiggins, and Kevon Looney, and you keep everybody else in their normal roles. You use this as an opportunity to get Chris Paul what he probably wants anyway, although he did hint yesterday that he was cool coming off the bench, and you move forward in that vein, and you put the best five you have out there on the floor at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and I don't care what walk of basketball it is or what level, Jay, what you just said is how I would run my team, and that's the best five. But I will say this again, because you said something, and it just blew me away, and it's how I'm feeling right now. CP3 was presidential. He's been that, again, a steward of the league, but there's no doubt the words that came out of his mouth yesterday, if we could just look deep down, it was easier for him to say those words because now of what's going on with Draymond. And I can make the case because it's all about positivity and connectivity. I can make the case, and this is where you went last block, that if he didn't start now with this injury, it would actually, it would be worse than if he didn't do it and Dre was there. So it's almost like CP3, come on, and that record, Cal Ripken, all the great records we have in sports, the Iron Man record, I mean, this is something that means something to him, and the fact now it wouldn't be, or it wouldn't come to an end because of a guy like Draymond and maybe a Jonathan Kuminga Dre, I don't think he would be able to. I think that would hurt a little bit.
Well, and I think that's a fair way of looking at it. Like, I'll be honest, if I'm Chris Paul, I would view it that way. If I'm Chris Paul and you have Draymond and Steve Kerr comes to me and says, I think it's best for the team if you come off the bench, I would say, you got it. You got it, coach. Now, and I'd be cool with it. And I'd roll with it. And I know that I'm probably going to be playing a lot at the end of the games. I'm still going to be playing a lot with the star players. And so I would roll with it as what's best for the team. If you come to me and say, Dre's out, we're gonna give Moody some run. We're gonna go with Saric. because we want to stretch 4 out there with Looney because Looney's not a shooter, or we're going to go with Kuminga because we want to let him play with better players at the start or whatever, and he's the backup 4. So we're going to put it. If I'm Chris Paul at that point, I'd probably fake it like I'm cool with it, but I would not be cool with it. And I may even voice that I'm not cool with it.
Because that's when you're really not cool with it. Oh, okay.
Not publicly.
Because public then it's messy.
Not publicly, but in private, I'd be like, I'm not cool with it. Like,
you're being a pro then.
I'm not cool with it.
Yeah, you're being a pro then if you let them know behind closed doors.
And I don't. And here's the thing: regardless of what I think, it's not to me. It's not what's best for the Warriors. With Draymond Green out, because we can talk about egos and personalities. The best thing for the Warriors, in my opinion, with Draymond out, is for Chris Paul to start. I'll say this. I think the best thing for the Warriors, if Draymond was healthy, would be for Chris Paul to come off the bench.
And we're in the same, as Low Neal would say, pew.
So, to me, it's both things are equally true. If they've got Draymond, I would start with the big lineup that they started last year with Looney and Dre 4 and 5 and Wiggins, Klay, and Steph. But without Dre, to me, it's a no-brainer. Chris Paul pops right in there.
God love it.
Let's go to Phil in San Francisco, 888-957-9570. What's going on, Phil?
Not a lot, you guys. How's it going?
Hey.
Yeah, just wanted to chime in a little on your subject about, who starts and who doesn't and how often and everything. I mean, I think the Warriors really have the best of both worlds, I think, in having Curry as a potential point guard and having CP3 because they're two totally different types of point guards. But they understand what their roles are because they're veterans, and certainly with CP3, he's been with 5 different teams now. I think he's going to be more than adaptable, with what Kerr, his job as the coach is to understand and appreciate what their strengths and weaknesses are, and you may have a whole bunch of different starting lineups throughout the season based upon who they're matching up against.
Eventually, that's what it's going to get to.
Yes.
Thanks, Phil.
Well, I think that, yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there, Phil.
But he got
his point in. That's what it's going to come to eventually is the best lineup for the best match. And look, I think he's going to roll with it a certain way predominantly, but then as we've seen in the playoffs, things can change game to game. Draymond didn't start. Steph Curry hasn't started playoff games for this reason or that. So, Coach Kerr has been, I think, really good at finding the right moment in the playoffs to make sure that he's got the right group out there at the beginning and the right amount of players to have in the mix beyond that.
Yeah, when you get taken advantage of. But I will say this. I'll just use the Lakers. They had a good offseason. JD, you know who their starting 5 is. You know who their starting 5 is in Milwaukee. Let me tell you, how about the NBA champions? You know who their starting 5 is. And to me, that that means something. And it's been that way for the Warriors, although they'll change it up or go small when you get down to the nitty-gritty. But I get a San Francisco Giants type feel. Castani was kind of saying this too, and you tell me what you think because you kind of just touched on it. Oh, they can roll out. They can do the Rubik's Cube, start lineups. And I'm like, I don't like that. I like the stability of knowing, okay, we're in the Bay. We're going up against this dog that is led by Steph Curry. This is the starting 5. Not on Wednesday it could be JD, Thursday it could be Goo, Friday it could be Spadoni. And I'm just hearing that a lot. And I'm like, I don't think we'll see, that without injury.
No, I don't really either. To me, the best way to handle it is Draymond's out, CP3 starts, like we've been talking about. And then when Draymond's back, you do have to see where things are at. Like, is it going well with Chris start? Because look, I'll lay another scenario out there. Let's say Draymond misses the first 10 games and Chris Paul starts and the Warriors go 7-3 and look really good and they're clicking and Kuminga looks good coming off the bench and everything's kind of fitting, but you don't have Draymond. Well, at that point, maybe Draymond comes off the bench to initially. So just to ease that in because you're having success. And we already know Draymond would be cool with it because Draymond did it in the playoffs last year. So it's not if Draymond will read the room, if that's what's going on, and say, you know what, I'm going to take on a role where I survey the game and then come in almost like the backup point guard for Chris. Like you could start that lineup and then Draymond comes in for Chris. And then you've got the other lineup on the floor for a few minutes before you start making other subs. So, and you can do it that way and get Chris out and then bring Chris back in at the start of the second quarter, and then he's with the bench group. So just because he's starting doesn't mean he isn't also going to be playing with that bench group at the beginning of the second and fourth quarters.
Good stuff. And I'm selfishly, JD, I keep saying stylistically, I don't want anybody to be injured. I want to see Draymond, and I want to see this Warrior team that I feel like now is connected. And I'm not making excuses. I don't think enough is being made of what they had to endure last season and still get to the conference semis. The whole Wiggins fiasco, I won't even call it a fiasco, a sabbatical. He was gone. That threw everything out of whack to me. Then the punch, and they still got to those heights and lost to the Lakers in 6. My thing to you is that this Warrior team to me still likes to run. I just can't wait to see, okay, they get the rebound. Chris Paul methodically likes to bring it up, get the offense set. How are him and Dre going to coexist? And why I bring up the word selfishly is we got to wait however long Dre is out to kind of see that play out.
Yeah, I think him and Dre
grow.
Him and Dre can coexist, but you have to remember when him and Dre are on the floor together, it's going to be without Looney because somebody, in all likelihood, because somebody's going to have to. If Draymond and Chris Paul are out there, the most likely scenario is going to be it's either the starting lineup with Looney being off the bench, or it's going to be a closing lineup where Looney would probably be the guy if everybody else is healthy, because you're not benching Steph or Klay or Wiggins at that point. Yeah. And so I think that can work. I think Chris Paul, when there was a texter that said this Comcast Business text line, Chris Paul's mid-range game
come on now.
Is an element.
That's the best part of his game.
I mean, the Warriors don't have too many guys that knock down 15, 16-foot jumpers. Yeah. And
Corey Joseph can't.
Chris Paul's ability, well, he can't. What is he? Can't make the club from the tub.
Yeah, we saw him.
I mean,
yesterday.
he's made the club,
but yeah.
Well, no, and not to get off on a tangent on Corey Joseph, but I've said I think if he's healthy, he might end up playing some backup too.
Okay,
a little bit. If some of the younger guards are not
40% from 3 last year
up to speed, so we'll see. But he's got to be healthy.
How would you answer this? Never go full Jeff on the First NorCal Credit Union. He said, JD, and I'll let you handle this. I hate that you guys are only talking about CP3 starting if Draymond is out, as if there's no other options. Jeff, you're not listening, because we talked about it. It's not just specifically CP3. We talked about it could be Kuminga. We talked about...
Well, that's the question. The question is, I've kind of thought of it as a no-brainer, but...
We're both on that.
But I get the impression that a lot of Warrior fans...
think it could be Kuminga.
Don't think it's a no-brainer.
And that's where Jeff, I bet, I don't want to speak for him, I bet he's thinking JK can do it.
Like, it's still a question. Is it Moody? Is it Kuminga? Is it Saric? How do you want to do that? But to me, I want Saric in his bench role.
I'm looking forward to
off the top.
Yeah.
I want Kuminga in his bench role off the top. Chris Paul is going to fluctuate no matter what. It's not like Chris Paul, because Chris Paul was going to be in the starting lineup when there's, Steph's going to miss games. Klay's going to miss games. Chris Paul's going to go in the starting lineup then. So Chris Paul's role was going to fluctuate no matter what. What I want is the one dude to have his role fluctuating. I want the dude that has his role fluctuating to be the Hall of Famer, and not the 21-year-old.
Well, that's
and not the specialist in a guy like Saric, and not Moody, who came along in the playoffs but still has to prove that he can play in the regular season the way he did in the playoffs. Like people, and I get it. I'm one of them. Moody played so well, you got to let Moody play in the regular season. Totally agree with that. But you know what Moody has to do? He has to be as productive in the regular season as he was in the playoffs, because he was not as productive in the regular season when he got opportunities last year as he was in the playoffs. Playoff Moody has to be there in the regular season at the results level. Knocking down threes, hustle plays, keeping the ball moving, not turning it over, not fouling.
Defend.
Like Moody was really good against Sacramento.
What's your gut tell you about how, full throttle, healthy, Jay, when it was announced CP3 was coming to here, like, how good do you think this team can be? Like, if I told you they're going to the Western Conference Finals, you could easily say, it's too soon. Come on, man. They're having their first practice today. Anybody could say that. But I know how you think. Russell Crowe, beautiful mind. What's your gut tell you if everything clicked, how good this team could be?
I think they're at a minimum a team that makes it to the second round of the playoffs.
All right. Which they did last year with all that drama.
At a minimum, I think but a better version of that. If they're healthy, if it clicks, I think they're a better version of a top 4 team in the West. And when you look at the other teams at the top of the West, I mean, I think it's Denver, it's Phoenix, I think it's the Lakers.
Yeah.
And then
I want to throw Clippers in there.
Can they be the 4th? I'm not throwing the Clippers in there at all.
Because Kawhi was barking back about his availability.
Yeah, that's fine.
Kawhi.
Yeah, the Clippers are on. The Clippers, I've taken the approach of just like, wake me up. Wake me up when you prove to me that you care. I got they're not going to care enough to be top 4. Again, the Warriors didn't care enough in stretches last year to be top 4. And so I think, I look at it on paper, best of the best. I feel like, all right, it's Denver, it's Phoenix, the Lakers, and then the Warriors in a top group if everybody's rolling, and then you figure it out from there. And then after that, you want to start talking about the Clippers. You want to start talking about the Sacramentos, who were probably already upset that I didn't put them in the top 4 because they were 3 last year.
I forgot.
They got to prove it. Again, that last year wasn't a fluke for them. So so that's the high end. And then it becomes, if you are one of those 4, can you if you are in the Western semifinals, can you beat LA or Denver or Phoenix in a playoff series? And then can you beat one of the other 2 in the conference final? Like, to me, that's
a bear.
That's what it ultimately comes down to if you're the Warriors. But health is going to be at a premium in addition to everything else.
Let me pick your brain, because we hadn't got into it, about the Klay Thompson and Steve Kerr contract situation. I told Steiny, I'm on record, I thought Klay would get done before opening night. I don't know if I still feel that way, but I feel like that'll get taken care of, Jay. But the Steve Kerr going into this year, like, quote unquote, Bob Myers did last year, that surprises me. Your thoughts?
I think Steve Kerr's comfortable enough in his own skin to handle it as far as his part of it. I think I took the Klay deal a little bit differently than I think most people did. I thought Klay was kind of saying, hey, it's possible that it gets done.
Oh, okay.
When he was, it's possible that it gets done, but if it doesn't,
I ain't tripping.
I ain't tripping. And I thought there was also a little hint of, and maybe I'm not here. Like a
little splash of that,
a little bit. I thought that. Like, there's a little of it. It probably gets done. If it doesn't get done, I'm not tripping. And you know what? If this is it, I've had great moments here. I'm going to have more great moments here this year, and we'll see what happens. Like, I think all of those things, we're not that far away from the prospect of that being reality once you get into the regular season and nothing's done.
Because Steve can get done at any juncture during the season.
Right.
Klay, if it ain't done before Phoenix, then it ain't happening.
Not every head coach can coach on the last year of their deal. Steve Kerr can.
And
Phil
some
Jackson
shouldn't have to.
Phil Jackson did.
Yeah, but it was
lot.
over then, though. You know what I'm saying? It was bad blood, kind of.
No, but they had won titles. Everybody still respected Phil. Like, it wasn't that players didn't respect Phil. Like, Steph, Klay, Draymond, Wiggins, those dudes, all those dudes respect Steve Kerr.
Yeah, no
Whether
doubt.
He's
they
in the
should.
last year of his deal. Like, this isn't, Dave Yeager coaching needs another year added on for people. This isn't Gabe Kapler needs another year added on.
What do you mean by that?
So people take him seriously. Like Gabe Kapler. And again, I know it's baseball. Gabe Kapler is a lame duck manager. Stinks. That's a horrible thing. Yeah, Steve Kerr in the last year of his deal. Who cares?
I'll tell you, I care, Jay, just from the vantage point that he's a Don. And he was on with Willard and Dibbs a while ago, and he said he still wants to do this. And I took him at face value. I believe that. But I'm always reminded by the guys in the afternoon Mike Dunleavy Jr. told us Jordan Poole was going to be here a while, and then 2 days later he was out of town. So anything could pop off. But I do wonder, Jay, like a guy like Steve Kerr, if he wants to be here, should never get to this plateau of his contract, because there is a sense of pride and prestige when that announcement goes out. You know what? Steve Kerr is going to be the Warrior head coach. So, again, I'm not trying to be messy. It is just peculiar that, I've won 4. I still got the big 3. Dre got 4 for a hundo. What's up? That's all,
Well, it's a matter of how much of a discount is Klay going to take, because that's the truth. Like he got paid a lot of money for 2 years to rehab. That made perfect sense at the time because of they were coming off of the 5 straight finals in 2019, and he was a free agent, and he had helped them win all those championships to that point. Like it made sense to give him that max deal at that point in time. But now he is going to have to take less. Now, is it Draymond less, 25 a year? Probably not.
My number was 33 for 9. He gets it done.
It might need to be more like 4 and 120.
Right.
And
right.
But I do think that's again, I'm trying to put myself in Klay Thompson's shoes in this, right? Like what would
the Antis.
But I could see Klay saying, I want, I'm not going to make 42, but I want to make 35 for times 4. But you start talking 35 times 4, that's 4 and 140.